Make sure to subscribe to Ben on YouTube so you can stay up to date on everything Humble.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy. Thank you for tuning in. We got technical difficulties. They're trying to shut us down, trying to give us the Rona, but we're not having it today. We're keeping it live, and we got a really amazing episode for you guys here today, so I'm glad you guys can be tuning in. I've got a really amazing guest with me here today. You're definitely going to want to connect with us and stuff. So right on the Daily Drama Show, we're rolling. Today, we're talking about this. Agent versus wholesaler. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, that's what we're talking about here today. A lot of misconceptions, a lot of different things going on, so I want to help educate you. And really, really cool. I've got an awesome friend of mine. We connected about a year ago now, and I was actually on his podcast. I've got a good friend of mine who runs a brokerage called Stunning Homes Realty. He also runs the largest wholesaling podcast in the nation. And by nation, I mean Canada and the U.S. Let's call it what it is. It's huge. Do that again, Hans. Huge. So, founder of Real Estate Disruptors. Steve has been in the game for a long time. The guy's just a really genuine dude, and I really like connecting with him. Actually, Chris Root and I were there in his studio last year, and we connected. We're able to do that. He also runs a really cool app service called Offer Fast Homes app and help wholesalers, jumpstart their career. And he has a really cool mission, which is why I love this guy. His mission is to help create 100 millionaires, and I love that goal. In fact, I stole it. So, so when I heard Steve say it, I'm like, I want to do that. That sounds really, really dope. So let me bring on my man here, Mr. Steve Trang. Steve, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Good to have you here, dude. And you're in Phoenix, Arizona, right?
That's right.
Okay, I love it. So it's probably like 400 degrees right now, or getting there?
The weather is great today. I mean, it's like in the 80s, but man, It's welcome.
I'm trying to make myself feel good over here because it's still pretty cold here in Canada, dude. So I'm glad to have you here, man. And I was so honored to be part of your podcast last year. I thought it was such a cool experience. You've had everybody on that podcast, everybody who's a wholesaler. I don't think there's any wholesaler who hasn't been on the podcast, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a big time wholesaler, there's no reason why you haven't been on the show yet, right? So it's just a matter of time. There's some people that we got on deck, but for the most part, if you're wholesaling, you've probably been in the show.
Dude, I love it. Here's what I want to know. A couple of things here. Help our folks at home understand, because we're in Canada. We're a little bit behind you guys in terms of everything, right? So we literally just started wholesaling here a couple of years ago, and now they're starting to pick up steam or whatever. Can you help folks really understand what is the core difference between, in your opinion, a wholesaler and a real estate agent or, a realtor? Help us break it down, man.
Sure. A realtor has a fiduciary responsibility to the homeowner. They have to do their job to serve their responsibilities, which usually indicates getting the most amount of money for their home, right? So that's their goal. That's the primary purpose, generally speaking, 98, 99% of the time. They get paid a flat rate, not a flat rate, but a flat percentage, usually somewhere around 5, 6, 7% of the total transaction amount, which is great. It's a great way to earn a living. Wholesalers are buying the properties, are contracting the properties, and then selling the contract. So basically, they're doing arbitrage. So just like right now, let's pretend you went to go to Verizon or whoever you guys have. I think Rogers is what you guys have up there. I'm not sure.
Sure.
And you guys traded in your iPhone. They're not going to give you full market value for your phone. They're not even going to give you what you get in the secondary market. They're going to give you like $100, $150, whatever, and they're going to turn around and sell it to someone else for 180. Right? It's just arbitrage. You're making $30 on this phone, or just you trade in a car instead of selling it on an Auto Trader or whatever you guys use in Canada. You're selling it for a little bit less for convenience. Well, in wholesale, you're buying a property at convenience and then selling the rights to that contract to somebody else for a profit.
Yeah, so the big difference is you're distinguishing between selling the property versus selling the rights or the contract to a property. So here's a big question I get, Steve, because this is new over here. You're in Phoenix, which for those of you guys that don't know, Phoenix is like the Mecca, I think, right? I mean, I was in Phoenix. I've got some family there, and I went down there in 2011, and I bought a property, and it was relatively quiet from my experience, but I wasn't in the scene. And then I found out that every wholesaler in the world is out there, like just about. Am I right? Like
there's something in the water here that makes you want to wholesale.
Yeah, there's something in the water, he says. We came to Canada in 1991 with nothing but a will to thrive. They risked everything they had, left behind everyone they knew,
The only way out of the country was illegal, and the risk was huge.
I adopted the mindset that my parents had of faith and vision for my life. You see, they helped me understand that you get to decide what happens in this world. By the age of 30, I became a millionaire. I refused to accept scarcity, limiting beliefs, or someone else's excuses. So you want to know what the secret is? People ask me all the time, what's the secret? You want to know what it's going to take for you to succeed? Here's the truth.
So all right, so that's obviously been there. It's been there for a long time. I get this question a lot from people, and I want to get some clarity from you because you've been experienced. Do you think people say is it ethical or unethical to buy directly from the seller? Is it ethical to be a wholesaler? Give me your take on this, man, because that brings into question a whole lot of things.
So I think if you're looking at it in a vacuum, right? So let's say, in our area, houses are not as expensive as yours. Median homes are around 300,000. Who knows what's going to be after the virus? But right now, let's just call it 300,000.
Okay.
Okay. If you were to buy that house today for 160,000 for just a rich person, you probably swindled them, right? If they've got no pain whatsoever, you probably lied to them to get at such a steep discount. And I can understand that from the outside looking in. However, if you're looking at a $300,000 home where nothing's been done since they bought it in 1950, there's hoarder components to it. There's cat food everywhere, cat droppings everywhere. House is in really disrepair, and they need the money tomorrow, or let's say in a week. So, the house needs 80,000 in rehab, and they need the money now. Well, if you're buying a house for 160,000, is it unethical? I would argue they're not going to get that much more if they were to list it. If they were to go bring in a contractor, pay the contractor what they're worth, waited another 2 months, month and a half to 2 months for the contractor to be done, waited on the market for another 30 to 60 days to go under contract, another 30 to 45 days after that to close. Well, if they can do that, sell it for 300. But if they need the money today and it's in disrepair, someone's gonna buy it for 160,000. And I can tell you, I understand the question because I had some challenges with this as well. But I can tell you with absolute certainty, some of the houses I bought where I made the most amount of money or where the sellers were the most grateful. They were so happy I was there because no one else was. And that's something that you got to think about putting it back in your head because it's so easy to look in a vacuum and pretend that there's no other factors here. But there's lots of factors on the reason why they're selling a $300,000 house for 160,000.
Well, is it just like anything? I love that you kind of broke it up that way because it's very clearly articulated. But is it any different than somebody walking into a used car dealership with a car that's been neglected, that needs oil change, that needs a new muffler, needs a new filter, whatever, and they say, hey, listen, I don't want to deal with this car anymore. I just want a brand new one. Like, there is a cost to convenience, though, as well. So from the outside looking in, you can say, well, Jimmy, you shouldn't have gone to the used car dealership. You should have tried to put it up on Craigslist or Kijiji by yourself. You should have tried to get more money. You should have maybe fixed that bumper a little bit. You should have maybe taken it to the body shop. The reality, though, is some people don't want to go through that. And it's easy sometimes to look from our point of view, who's not in that direct motivated situation, and make assumptions. But until we're in the middle of it, what nobody talks about is the amazing stories of the people who generally need the help and generally would love to have a quick cash sale. People assume, I think, Steve, and I want your take on this, that price is always everything, meaning like it's a finite thing. It's like, well, if you can get 300, then why would you take 280? Is that really the case, though? Is price everything, or is price really relative to the situation and to everybody's own objective opinion?
So 99% of the time, price is the number one factor. That's all you care about, and that's great because that means you've got time in your favor, right? And so if that's the case, go for it. And this is something that most realtors have a challenge wrapping their head around because I've been wholesaling since like 2013, 2014. I've been flipping since 2011. But what people don't understand is that there has to be not everyone wants a certain most amount of money. They've got a situation where they need to get money today. So for someone that says, if prices should be the factor, That is true 98, 99% of the time. That describes almost every person. My job as a wholesaler, though, is not to talk to everybody. I'm not going through the white pages and calling every single person.
Mm.
I'm calling people that have owned their homes for over 10 years, right? People that have either a probate situation, divorce situation, uh, their city's their property's under foreclosure by the city. Um, they're going to jail. Like these are the factors we're looking at when we're finding these people. Now, could you make the argument that we're behaving like vultures? You could certainly make that argument. At the end of the day, the people that we work with are happy to work with us, so I sleep totally fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and it's about really taking care of the seller ultimately. That's what I would
Absolutely.
break it down. The seller needs to say. If the seller says this price doesn't work, I had my buddy Matt on here. He talked about, listen, is there anything wrong with making an offer? I'm giving the seller perspective choice. Ultimately, they got to be the one to accept the offer or decline the offer. That's all it is. So
Yeah, we're not showing up with a gun.
that's right. I mean, you paint it with a broad brush and say all wholesalers are evil. That'd be like me saying all agents are evil. How dare you charge 5%? Why not charge 2%? Why not charge 1%? Why does it have to be 4 or 5%? So I think what we need to do is look at the individual situation and find out what truly is best for the seller in this case.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, dude, like, you know, it might be better off that they list with an agent because you own a brokerage as well, right?
And we've told them.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it sounds like you don't need a cash offer. It sounds like you're trying to get the most amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll tell us, yeah, like, great. What's the
Yeah.
So we'll totally pivot to whichever tool best suits their needs.
Yeah, I like that. So in this market climate right now with all the stuff going on with virus and Rona and all these different things, some people say, well, how dare you take advantage of people in bad situations? And my thought is people are already in bad situations. You just didn't realize it till this week. In fact, you've been living on this credit bubble for a while and you had a cushy job, but you were overextended. You had a house you couldn't afford to begin with. You're trying to live like the Joneses, but folks, Joneses are broke. We got to be honest here. So is it any different this week, dude, from last week when it comes to wholesaling or buying or selling?
What's crazy to me is that we've all been living paycheck to paycheck forever. And when I say we, I'm talking like 80 to 90% of the population. And it doesn't matter how much you're making. The guys that are making $1 million a year are surprisingly also still living paycheck to paycheck.
Good point.
Right. So as far as how we take advantage of these people, you know, we have homeowners saying this to us, like, how dare you take advantage? You try to call us right now. And we tell them, hey, you know what? Sounds like this isn't a good fit for you. Sounds like that's other options. That's great. At the end of the day, there are people we're talking to that are happy we're calling them.
Okay. So what's the climate over there right now? Because in Canada, what's happened is, you know, we're on Rona shutdown, right? So they stopped doing open houses. People can't go and do that, right?
Right.
You know, the agents are back at work, but it's all virtual based, which we're not caught up to you guys in the States. For the most part, it's still a very industrial low age business over here. So going to open houses, multiple offers. 3 weeks ago, my local city, which is about 250, 300,000, very similar to Phoenix, everything was multiple offers over asking price. Agents would be listing 50,000 below fair market value to drive up multiples. It was the same game, right? And, you know, and is obviously very seller friendly. So people say, wow, how dare you offer me less? The truth is, folks, the sellers have been taking advantage of the buyers for the last year and a half over here. Now, though, what's happened is we can't get into these properties, and the value that the seller brings or the agent brings to the table is diminishing because people can't make the offers, which means appraisers can't get in. Banks are holding off. They're trying to assign or do different things. What is a person to do, Steve? Let's talk about the individual investor, right? You're a person who wants to get into real estate, or you are in real estate. Are you still making offers with your agent? Should you now learn to become a wholesaler if you are? And if you are a wholesaler, what should you be doing, in your opinion, man, right now as an investor?
Well, I think every agent should look at wholesaling as an additional pillar in their income. I think it's foolish to look down on it. And that's what, unfortunately, a great high percentage of realtors look down on wholesalers. But I think it's so foolish because I can tell you the reason why we spend more on marketing on the wholesaling side than on the traditional agent side is that the compensation is higher, it takes less time, it's more profitable, and most importantly, the sellers love us. We've bought so many houses where the sellers are so thankful, not just on the day of closing where they got their money, a day later, a week later, hey, I just want to say thank you again. You were a lifesaver. You really helped me on that situation. On the traditional side, I will set the record in the neighborhood, and I've done this multiple times, and the sellers just felt like I just did my job. That's what I paid you to do. You know, it was my fault the appraisal came in low. fault it took 2 weeks to sell the house instead of 24 hours, even though we were overpriced. And if we sold in 24 hours, they would have felt like I did nothing for you. As a realtor, you did nothing but put aside in the house. Like, you can't win as a realtor. No matter what, the seller just feels like they own you. It's like having a boss.
Mm.
As far as a wholesaler, what we should be doing right now is skilling up. We've got a friend that says skills
Skills
get the
get the
deals.
deals. Come on, man. My boy, Chris Rude. I love
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And that's absolutely true. Right now, you got to skill up. You better get good at winning in the living room or winning on the phone, because right now that's where the money's made.
You don't have a choice right now. Corwin wants to know, is today's market a good time for wholesaling? I would say to you that wholesaling is an art, and it's always good to have that tool in your belt and be able to understand that art. If you're not wholesaling in a good market, in a down market, the market volatility and the market cycle up and down doesn't stop you from using a strategy. It may enhance how many deals you do or how many deals you don't do, but the art of getting a deal at a discounted price is the basis, in my opinion, for fundamental investing. If I'm going to read Benjamin Graham or Warren Buffett's material or any other really value-based long-term investor, I know the most important thing I can do is make money on the buy. I think far too
Buying it
many
right.
buying right. Am I right? Like far
Buying
too
it right
many
is where the
people,
money's at.
like far too many people, how many are paying full retail price, even as investors, and now they're having to force up the value of that property through renovations and through this, and they're cutting corners. The truth is, I think they're cutting corners because they overpaid, and then their
Yeah,
margins are razor slim. Talk to us
They're
about
buying
this,
on a
man.
projected appreciation, right? I mean, we've
Okay.
been projecting from the beginning of the year, we're going to have double-digit appreciation in Phoenix.
Mm.
Boy, you're buying based off that. Right now, you're not feeling so good.
It's screwed.
And just another thing to add for Corin here, I think now is a great time to start wholesaling, because if you started today versus you started a year and a half, 2 years ago, I would argue you're in a better position today, even though you don't have the skills necessary yet. You don't have the overhead that guy has, right? The guy that's just starting to scale, starting to build,
Mm.
he's got payroll. He's got potentially some leases,
Mm.
right? He's got monthly overhead that's going out month after month after month. I'm seeing a lot of people cutting their overhead right now because they're freaking out, which is an understandable response. But there are other people that don't know what's going to happen and their overhead's the same. So someone starting brand new with no bad habits and no overhead, I would argue is in a better position than the guy who's had some success and now is kind of freaking out.
So investing in yourself is what you're saying is probably one of the primary things. Like, you have to learn how to sell yourself. You have to learn how to have
100%.
conversations with people. And our friend Chris is great at this. Like, you got to learn to talk to people, folks. Right? Like, Steve, we live in a society, man, where a lot of the people that are coming into the business world, some of these younger folks are coming in, they don't know how to talk to people if it's not through the internet. Right?
That's all they know.
Okay.
It's
So
right here.
like, they're not skilling up. It's just this. It's the phone. That's right.
Yeah.
So give us some insight, because we're always behind you guys by a couple years. So right now, wholesaling is becoming a thing. But, in Phoenix, it's been a thing now for a while. The boom happened. Decades. It's been happening. Talk to me about this whole competition versus collaboration thing. The one thing I really took away from you guys was, over here when I got started, I was the same kind of thick-headed, young, arrogant guy. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, oh, I'm going to crush everything. I'm the crusher. I'm crushing, right? I'll kill everything. And then I realized you actually do more business through collaboration, because you can focus on your unique ability. You can focus on information asymmetry, and you can start playing off other people's abilities or deal making, so you can put deal and money together. But for the long time, it was like crush, crush, crush. And we have a lot of independent, like, starting investors over here who don't understand the value of collaboration. And you guys in Phoenix, you guys are like a whole family, and all the wholesalers get together. What does that look like, man? How does that kind of community develop, and did somebody set the tone for that, or is it just you guys have that mindset? Like, how did that come about? I'm curious.
Well, that's a great question, right? And I think Sean Terry is a big part of it. He's one of the major guys in the industry. I think he was one of the guys that started it. And then his people underneath him, Brandon Simmons, Rafael Cortez, I think they kind of continued that tradition. And then we just continued to build on it. And now, it's what you see today. But it's something that we're starting to see today on social media and wholesale, right, in the Phoenix market. But truth be told, this has been existed for some time on the traditional side. I've gone through lots and lots of coaching and different programs on the realtor side, and this community, are we hanging out as much? Not as much, because the community is a lot bigger in the realtor community. So maybe we're not hanging around as much, and we're not tagging each other as much on social media. But this, where we're collaborating and helping each other, That's been around for some time. I think the difference is now you can see it on social media. And I'm
Yes.
not saying it's not real because it's very real.
Mhm.
It's just easier to see now than it was before.
Well, I think you're more prevalent about it. I think you guys honestly do a better job of rallying investors. Like, I find a lot of Canadian investors are very skeptical, or they're trying to do it in a silo by themselves. And the idea of collaboration is less. Like, you go to these things, these events, like, how many doors do you have, bro? Like, irrelevant questions that don't mean anything, because it doesn't mean you're profitable, right? It's just how
Pissing
many
contest.
doors do you have? So I love that about your community, that you guys are, and I'm sure there's probably some issues in deal making and divide, but do people truly grow more together in the wholesaling space, or is
Oh,
there a limited
100%.
amount of deals? Talk to us about the scarcity of it.
Is there a limited number of deals? Absolutely, there's a limited number of deals. But those
By the way, if you guys are interested in real estate investing and you are in Canada, I wrote a book here called Real Estate Secrets Exposed. Learn how to actually make money virtually, which is cool, from the comfort of your home. Yes, it is possible if you understand the value and how to do wholesaling. And if you don't know anything about wholesaling, you need to grab this book. It's absolutely free. There's no page numbers. There's nothing else in there. It's just ready to go, though. Humble.ceo to grab your free copy.
But those limited number of deals, we can split it 25 different ways and live an amazing life. Right? So is there a limit? Yes. Are we anywhere close to getting that limit? No. I'm finding out about people still today who are in the business. So but I would say the collaboration is absolutely essential. What we've been able to do through collaborating, we would not have been able to do on our own. I've been able to scale a lot faster in my wholesaling business just through collaboration. And could I figure it out on my own? 100%. But man, isn't it nice to compare notes with someone who's trying to accomplish the same thing you are? And not with one person, with 5 other people. How much that helps you.
So there's something to be said about unique ability and relying on other people to build stronger bonds, and knowing that in times of feast and famine, when you're all kind of rallying together around a common cause. I love that camaraderie. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
I think a lot of investors don't see it that way. And now that, my mind shift in the last couple of years, really about collaboration. I find that today I've got more deal making than I have in the past. In the past, I was aggressively pursuing it on my own. These days, I got people calling me, hey, you got money for a deal? Or do you have a deal for me? Or you have this, like the conversations that evolve. There's a lot more of them. And even getting into a mastermind, which I know is something you're big on, getting into a mastermind elevates those conversations even more, right? There's a whole level of deal making that's usually just above our level of focus and vision that we can see. And if we just lift our head up and move to a new realm, it's like, oh my God, there's all this other deals happening up here I don't even know existed. Talk about that. I think it's like, it's almost ignorance in a way as investors. We don't know what we don't know, like Chris would say.
So before we talk about that, unique ability, you mentioned it a couple of times. People really need to understand unique ability because it's absolutely critical for the collaboration component, right? Like what I'm good at is different than what some of these other guys are really good at. So we can leverage each other's knowledge as well, but how do I deal with this? Because if it's a scaling issue or an entrepreneur thing, I'm the guy. If it's a data thing, there's another guy. If it's creative financing, another guy. So we can all pick each other's brains on what we're really good at. As far as the masterminding goes, masterminding is a game changer. It's you think you know what you got going on, and then you realize how infantile or newborn like your business is.
Yep.
When you meet these real killers, these guys that have been doing what you're trying to accomplish, they've been doing it for 10 years. Man, not only is it humbling, but these guys are also willing to help you as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Would you agree that joining a mastermind actually makes the pie bigger? Because everybody looks at their own little slice, but when you join it, you just realize how much bigger it actually is.
The right mastermind, absolutely. And I would say more than half of them are, but there are some masterminds that are going to be a complete waste of your time. You're just going to have to vet them like anything else. But most masterminds, if they're run properly, everyone gets better.
I love that, because it's also for the collective good. You want to look out for each other in that mastermind group. So I think that's so well. Everybody I've had on this show has said the same thing, get into a mastermind, get into a mastermind. I think people forget that personal development, which I know you're big on as well, is such a critical component of growth in any endeavor. If you're focused on your personal development, getting your mindset right, getting your focus right, taking the right level of action, what happens is it's amazing because there's a whole new world of opportunity that opens up to you, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that, man?
It's that reticular activator, right?
The RAS.
Trying to,
tell them, man.
yeah,
Preach, Steve. Preach
So
it.
you're trying to buy, let's just pretend a red Ferrari. Boy,
Yep.
there's not a lot of red Ferraris out there right now, but you're going to see every single one for the next couple of months, right? And so if you got the knowledge and you know what you want and you're educated on what you want, now when those opportunities present themselves, you can see how it fits, how it works. But if you don't have that knowledge, the ability to solve that problem, to tackle it, that opportunity just went to somebody else. Is that a red Ferrari?
That's a red
See them
Ferrari.
everywhere.
I told you, man. That literally just appeared out of nowhere. It was not there a few minutes ago.
Yeah. But that having that knowledge, the ability to know what you want and know how to conquer it, boy, now there's way more opportunities because you developed yourself to be able to handle it. It's what does Jim Rohn say, right? Like you don't become a millionaire, you grow, or you don't just get $1 million. You grow to be the person that can receive $1 million.
You got to see it in your mind first before you hold it in your hand, right? And that's the reality
Exactly.
of it. And I know a lot of people struggle, like, oh, that's foo-foo. No, it's not, because the reality is if you don't believe it's possible and you're never going to take the right level of action, which means you'll never break through the most people's limiting beliefs or barriers or hurdles that they're going to overcome to actually see that result in your hand. So that's the truth. This is so much more than just deal making. I love this whole topic of agent versus wholesaler, because at the end of the day, dude, it doesn't matter. You got to do what's right for you and your family. They're different. They're two different alternatives that a seller has available to them. Option A, option B. That's really what it comes down to. One isn't better or the other, just to make a clear distinction.
It's whatever the seller needs.
It's whatever's better for that seller. So I love that you know, the American guys that have got, like, I'm a realtor, but I also offer to purchase the property. And if that doesn't work, I'll list the property. I think if Canadian realtors realized that was possible, dude, it would be a game changer, because they're already in the business. They're already knowledgeable. They're already, you know, so why don't they do it other than, you know, they're conflicted? Yeah, you got Stunning Homes Realty right on your thing, because you are a broker as well, right? You own a broker.
Yeah, well, it says home sold guaranteed or we'll buy it.
There you go.
Right? So I got into wholesaling on accident.
I need one
I
of
was
those shirts.
buying houses as a realtor. So I didn't want to. I just kept buying houses to flip because they're like, I want the cash today. I was like, you don't want the cash today. It's like, no, I want it today. So no, we got to list it for 120 days. And they said, no, I want the cash today. Well, the cash today is going to be not what we're talking about. It's going to be X. And they're like, I want that. It's like, sure? You don't want that. And they said, no, that's what I want. And that's kind of when I opened my eyes to realize that money is not always the number one factor.
Yep. I fully agree with that. So let's get real tactical just for a split second. What does that conversation with the seller look like? Because I think there's just a lot of confusion here. I'm an agent. Let's say I'm an agent. How do I talk with the seller? How do I propose these two alternatives?
So I think that was really important, right? Is you got to come in with a blank slate. You're not coming in there to list it. You're not coming in there to buy it. You're coming in there, hey Ben, you know, we do the whole appointment thing ever, and I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, lots of questions. Really understand what's going on in the world and why he's selling. As we go through this conversation, I'm going to label it, right? What Chris Fox says, I'm going to label it. Hey Ben, in talking to you, it sounds like you're trying to get the most amount of money home. And you say, yes, that's right. Okay, great. Can I show you how we do that? Or say, hey, given the conversation we've had so far, it sounds like you're trying to get money in the next 7 to 10 days. You say, yes, that's right. So, okay, can I show you what we do in the home buying process? So I don't go in there with an agenda. I go in there with no agenda other than to listen to you and then cater a solution based off what you've told me.
Oh, I got to drop a bomb. Because that is so helpful. So keep going down this chain, because I love this. I love this thought.
Yeah, and so that's basically it. And then going back to labeling, right? The great thing about labeling is if you throw it out there and you're wrong, they'll correct you and then you go in the right spot. So I say, it sounds like you're trying to get money in 7 to 10 days. Like, no, that's not what I said. Oh, I need to get the most from my house. Okay, fantastic. Can I show you what we do to sell your home for the most amount of money? I can quickly pivot. I'm not saying, here's the cash offer. I don't jump right into the cash offer. Figure what we're at, and I'll adjust to it accordingly. I mean, I kind of look at it. I do martial arts. I think you know that.
Yep, you do. You're Bruce Lee, right?
Go. I'm trying to be. So you just go. You go with what you're given, right? Is whatever is like judo or anything else. Whatever's given to you, you adjust to it, and that's what the homeowner conversation is like. I'm going to give you whatever you've given me. I'm not going to give you anything different.
So you don't walk in there with one move. You're not like, this is my move. You just do this like, that Bart Simpson episode. I'll just keep doing this. And if you get hit, it's your own fault, right?
Exactly.
You're going in and you're moving and you're whatever they're doing, you're complimenting, you're moving with them. And I think that's so critical. And a lot of people get stuck on the whole, like, well, I'm a realtor, I'm not allowed to, or it's illegal to, or whatever to. I'm very certain. I know you're in the States and I'm in Canada, and I'm not a realtor. I'm not making any claims. Talk to your lawyer. I'm very certain, though, if you disclose and you have the right disclosure signed, I'm pretty sure you can tie up that property and you can sell it or you can buy it. Like, but you need to disclose and you need to be upfront. I think my biggest challenge with people that want to wholesale is that they don't disclose their intentions and they don't have the ability or resources to close the deal if they make a cash offer. They put things under offer and they're like, yeah, I'll close on it. And then they go and they do something completely different. And they never tell the seller what the intention is up front. They never say, listen, my intention is that I've got the ability and the resources to close this deal. There's also a very high probability I may assign this contract before closing. Does it matter to you so long as it closes on closing date, Mr. Seller? Well, yeah, it matters to me. Okay, great. Then let's talk about it. And let me give you a cash offer. There's no assignment, but it has to be at this price. Because this is where I can justify taking any additional risk right now and paying you out cash. If you want this price, though, I have to have the right to do that. Just like you expect the closing, I need to have this option available to me as a potential exit strategy in the deal. That's how I think about it. Am I wrong, Steve? Like, can an agent not do that?
You're fully so just to address the realtor side, on the bottom of every one of our documents says in a principal in Max Cash Offers, because that's our LLC. Max Cash Offers is a broker in the state of Arizona. That's the bottom of every document. So they can never say we didn't disclose, right? As far as you disclosing that you may assign it, that's definitely one step further than most people do. That's one step further than we'll do. Because I'll tell someone, or we'll tell them that we're going to buy it, and then we'll also try to wholesale it. And if we can wholesale it, great. If we can't wholesale it, we're still there closing to buy it. So there's no risk to them. So but I applaud you. You're addressing it. You're hitting that.
Right off the bat.
Any potential problems you're gonna have down the road, you're not gonna have them anymore.
And the difference here, and I don't know about you guys as being a title and attorney state, but in where I'm in Ontario, this province is all attorney driven. So you have to close with a lawyer anyways. So my point is, like, there's already a responsible fiduciary in every transaction. The seller and the buyer each have a participating lawyer. And through the lawyer, you have to close the transaction. So if the contract looks funny, they're not going to close the deal. I'm trying to bring clarity. I'm not trying to tell people not to go with an agent. I want you to understand your options. Because if you've got that old car you want to trade in, you need to know you can go to a used car dealer versus you can put it on Craigslist or Kijiji versus you can just put a sign up front and try to sell it yourself. All those three things are the same as selling a piece of property. Steve, do people get conflicted here or emotional because it's their home? And perhaps they throw all their emotions into these decisions and conversations because now it's not a matter of selling a piece of property. It's, I have to sell the place that I raised my children. And I think that's where it becomes a super emotional. What do you think about that, man?
It can be. I think it's more emotional on the traditional side, but on the wholesaling side, it can be. But the great thing is on the wholesale side is they're motivated. And is that a problem? Sure, but they're still going to be signing. On the traditional side, it's a problem. And the problem it presents is not whether or not they'll sell the house. The problem is they're attaching a financial value to it. Johnny bumping his head into the kitchen wall over here adds $5,000 to his market value.
Well, that's what they do, right? Well, you're absolutely right. Well, my dad slept on this couch, so this room is extra valuable or whatever. Like,
exactly. They're just imparting more value onto the property that nobody.
Well, and that's personal emotional attachment value versus real, like, intrinsic value that I can calculate and I can base comparable sales on, because that doesn't help. So can there be too much saturation of wholesalers in a given market? Again, keeping in mind, Canada's a relatively new frontier. You guys are black belts, dude, and we're whites and yellows. I'm straight up. I'm telling you. So, you being an experienced person in this field, you guys being way further ahead than us, can there be too much saturation? And what should an individual investor or new investor do? Shaking your head, no, there's not too much of saturation.
No, again, like Phoenix, we're the Mecca. It's I call it the guru capital of the world. And
the guru capital of the world. I like it. Sorry, Sean Terry. Sorry, Carlos. Sorry, Sal.
And those are all friends, right? And at the end of the day, there's still enough business to go around. So can someone new come in and take part of our the pie? Absolutely. But is it going to affect me? Absolutely not. I'm going to do fine, right? I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to adjust. One of the things that someone's asked me is, what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur as it's becoming more and more challenging? And the things I say is grit, resolve, and problem solving. And if there's more people here, I'm going to find another way. I'm going to scorch the earth a little bit more. I'm going to make it a little bit harder for the guy that comes in after me. I don't know if you know, like one of our strategies is to put landmines on the property before we leave. Verbal landmines.
Okay, walk me through that, because I'm not. Write that on the screen, Hans. Grit, resolve. What was the third thing? That was dope.
Grit, resolve, and problem solving.
Problem solving. Go to the copyright office and coin that right away so I can use it going forward. Okay, talk about landmines, man. Talk about what that looks like.
So I'm gonna say, like, let's pretend you and I, Ben, we're talking here. Hey, Ben, you know what? It sounds like you and I, we're not gonna be able to make a deal here. You want X, I don't want to pay that much. It sounds like we're not gonna be able to buy your house. Is that fair?
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Just go ahead and the appointment now.
Why?
And you say yes, right? I said, okay, hey, Ben, you know what? I just want to make sure we're looking out for your best interest. I'm not going to buy your house. Can I give you some pointers when you're talking to the investors after me?
Boom, love it. Keep going.
All right. Make sure when you're talking to the next investor that he's got $10,000 non-refundable earnest money that he's prepared to put down. Because if he's buying your house for $200,000 and he doesn't have $10,000, like, is that going to concern you at all?
Yep, it sure does. You're right, Steve.
And then also make sure he's got a proof of funds with his name on it, not some other bank, because some of these guys, they put these proof of funds out there. Make sure it's got his name on it.
They do that? People do that? Okay, I'm a seller right now. I'm confused because I didn't know this stuff. As a potential seller, I don't have idea of this stuff, right? Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
So make sure he puts no assignment on the contract. The contract says assignable.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these guys, I don't know if you know this or not, they're wholesalers. They'll come in, they'll buy the house. And what they're going to do is they're actually going to send a bunch of people to look at the house after they leave. And they're going to tell you they're contractors, appraisers, financial partners, whatever. I just want you to know, when I buy a house, that's it. It's me, and no one else is walking through your house.
Yeah.
So if they tell you it's a contractor, just make sure you get a registered contractor number. Go to your board, make sure that person's name is at the contractor's office.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are the landmines I'm putting in. It's like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about these things. People do this, kind of like what you said. It's like, yeah, people do this. Like, and then one or two things is going to happen. Either, you know what, I'd rather just go with you, or B, they'll go this exercise. All these other wholesalers are going to all these landmines, and then they call me back. It's like, hey, you were right about those other guys.
Yep.
So
I love that. That is phenomenal advice. You should write a book on that. Did you and Pace come up with that together? I heard Pace talk about that one time, and he walked it through. I was like, dude, that is clever. And he even took it a step further and talked about Zillow and other realtors, right? So do you have any landmines for realtors and for Zillow?
Well, Zillow's not an issue anymore, right? They've kind of blown up in the last couple of weeks.
Sorry, Zillow. Done out the door. Okay.
Yeah. But for realtors, yeah, I mean, things we've said is, make sure that guy has something in there where if he can't sell it in 30 days, he'll sell it for free. Because, if he's giving you these pie in the sky numbers, which is fine, he says it's worth 350, even though we know it's worth 300. If your guy says it's worth 350, you know what? Go with him. I want you to make the most amount of money possible. Just make sure you have in that contract that if he can't sell it in 30 days, that he's going to reduce his commission to zero. Because if he's really serious about that price, he really shouldn't be worried about that.
See, what you did is you just leveled the field, because in a world of apples and oranges, you made them all oranges, because that's the problem. A realtor comes in sometimes, and I love agents, but some of them drive me bonkers because they're like, wow,
I love agents too.
It's worth $450. Well, you don't know that because you're not buying it. You're assuming you may be able to get it for $450. And you know what? Maybe last week you were right, or 2 weeks ago, or 3. Next week, guess what? You're completely wrong. So I love the idea of saying, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. Let's go oranges and oranges. I'm here to bring cash and an offer, and I'm ready to close. So if that guy can't sell it in 30 days, he should cut his commission or cut it down to 1% or something like that. Like, there shouldn't be, I'll make an effort, but it doesn't cost me anything, because it costs the seller time. Truthfully, that's what it costs them. And if they're in a
situation, even in our listing package, right, on the traditional side, we have your home sold guarantee. We'll buy it. we also have in there, if we can't sell your house in 120 days, we'll sell it for free. Like we have that right there in our contract right now.
But that's why you guys win, because you're willing to do this stuff. And you said something really cool earlier. You said there's no such thing as saturation because we'll keep pivoting and growing. And if I understood you correctly, basically, as the business evolves and as more players come in, the opportunity actually expands. New services come in, new opportunities come in. Like, you know, when I saw the wholesalers in the States, they were all doing deals and looking for opportunities. Some of the smarter wholesalers or bigger players, they started offering other services, like they started doing marketing services, or they started like offering specific beast mode podio packages, or started doing a bunch of other stuff to enhance the user experience and make it even easier for new people to get into the business. So it's a hierarchy that happens eventually, where it goes from like the street level, you know, deals that goes up a notch to a managerial level, and then it goes up a notch to more of like a, you know, a traditional wholesaling level, even on the information associated with wholesaling. So, dude, there's no shortage because the industry grows. Is that right? Is that kind of what I understand?
We have to get better. If we're not getting better, right? It's you know, Tony Robbins says this, right? If you're not growing when you're dying, like we're getting better every day. Stuff that we're doing today, man. We were texting and we were killing it. We were doing 4 deals a month from just texting. Today, man, we've got to send way more text messages, right? It's just you're constantly evolving, and we share what's working for us. So other people are doing it. Our competition's doing it to us, which is fine, because then we just keep evolving and creating more value. Because as we evolve and get better and we share, now we become the leaders in the industry. People are looking up to us, coming to us, right? So I value more people coming in. I'm not afraid. And one thing actually, what I enjoy is that we're raising the bar on the industry, because as it gets harder, you have to get better. And as you're getting better, man, you're getting run out of the streets. There's a wholesaler that I had blacklisted, and he sent a group apology about 3 weeks ago to all of us for his behavior. You know, apology accepted, but you're still blacklisted.
Yeah. And you don't want to be that. So in the 80-20 rule of life, I think the kind of free economy theory or whatever, like there's always going to be a 20%, and everybody has an opportunity to get there. Like there's no limitations imposed on that. There's really no even scarcity on getting to that position. So I love what you're talking about, because in a way I'm very capitalistic. I came from Romania. You know my whole story. And I'm not going to sit here and wait for the deals to come to me. I'm not going to be entitled about, I was here first, so I deserve 35% of all deal making in the local area, right? So, but you're absolutely right. If you want it, first of all, you have to level up. I had Matt Monero on the show recently. He says, dude, you got to nut up. You got to get ready. Jalen said the same thing. Jalen White was on the show. It's like, dude, you have to level up. You got to recognize that you are in business. It doesn't matter if it's real estate or selling popcorn. If you're in business every day, you're either participating and growing and pushing to be in that 20% and stay there, or you're not. Because you're right, dude. If you stop growing, you're dying.
Yep. You're going to early retirement that's been forced upon you.
You're taking the forced bailout package. So what should a new investor do? Like, let's say people are brand new to the game. You know, I'm talking Canadians or even Americans here. They've been skeptical about getting into wholesaling. They've had all these different objections that we kind of covered on today's discussion. And they're like, I'll wait till the market cools off and then maybe it's the right time. What should a brand new investor really think through logically here, in your opinion, Steve?
So I think the first thing is you got to get obsessed. And this is weird, but the guys that are at the top are obsessed with success, and there's no other option. And it's not like if they fail, they're going to go out of business. It's just in their mind, there's only one option, and it's massive success. Like being second tier isn't even like something that computes in their head. Right? So the first thing is got to be obsessed with success. Second thing, I put a lot of information out on my podcast for free that I think there's millions of dollars in there, because the guys that have been on the show, like yourself, have invested a lot in personal development, and the stuff we're talking about, we're sharing freely that we paid a lot of money for.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, digesting the podcast, and then after that, getting a mentor or joining a mastermind. I'll plug. I've got my own sales training program in there. You guys can check out. But if not me, there's somebody out there. But if you're going to level up, you want to get better, let's skill up. Skills get deals, and there's a lot of free time right now. Develop yourself, and if you were a person that got laid off or whatever because of what's going on today, I mean, especially in Canada with the price of oil, it's probably not a good situation right now in Canada. Take advantage of this. Take what's been a misfortune, something that bad that's happened to you, and make it the best thing that's ever happened to you. So you can look back in 10 years, like, I'm so glad I lost my job because I finally got to take a leap of faith in my business. I've tried to launch for a while.
She's saying take this scarcity, turn it into an opportunity. And that reminds us something we talked about on the show a couple of days ago, that so many awesome companies were started in the 2008 era. I'm talking Uber, Airbnb, companies that are very well known, was started during a time of scarcity and depression. So I'm wondering, like right now, who is that badass guy or girl that's sitting there like creating something amazing? That's like, you know what? I'm sitting at home. I have 3-4 weeks, a month, 2 months, and whatever that time period is. My biggest thing is like, you make sure you come out of this thing better with more skills, with more opportunities, with more control over your financial destiny. Because if you're relying on somebody else to feed you, to grow you, to push you, it's not going to happen. And I think we recognize people's realities shifted. Some people, their whole mindset broke last week or 2 weeks ago when they're like, you're at home. And they're like, but I thought my job was stable. You can't control pandemic events in the world. You can't control when one overseas war happens and it affects the price of a commodity, which affects the price of a stock on a company, and then affects the price of your portfolio. You can't control the things exterior, but all you can control is you. And I think if you're willing to push for personal development, and let me touch on your podcast. Hey, Hans, bring up the podcast real quick. Guys, this podcast is phenomenal. Real Estate Disruptors podcast. I'm going to pull it up on the screen here so you guys can go check it out. And I want you to support my boy too. It's never been easier. Would you agree, Steve, to get access to information and high level entrepreneurs? Because we're giving this stuff away. Dude, you're giving away so much value.
This was not available. This was not available when I started.
It was.
Right? When I started in 2007, this was not out there. So
looking at how many episodes you have on the podcast, Steve?
Oh man, over 110.
110 episodes with every dude. I think your podcast has, again, every wholesaler, every strategy, every mindset piece, every, tactical thing and mindset and business piece that you could think of. Because I've listened to so many of these episodes. Look at this. Hans is scrolling through them right now for you guys at home. So if you're not subscribed, you need to subscribe. The best place for them to do it is on the website or through the, Apple,
iTunes.
iTunes, cool. And then pop Steve's mastermind up here, folks, because when somebody has a mastermind that I believe in, I like to support people. And for those of you guys that are in the Phoenix area, I'm sure you guys are doing virtual stuff right now too. In fact, I see it on your Instagram. I see y'all doing those morning meetings. I'm trying to get into those, by the way.
Yeah.
Connect with my man. So what's the mastermind called, dude?
It's just disruptors.com.
Disruptors.com. Throw that up there. And you mentioned something earlier, and we'll just throw it on the screen for folks that are here. By the way, folks, if you got a question for my man Steve, drop it in the comments right now so we can connect here. Appreciate you guys for being on the show, by the way. Anmar, we got Leo, we got Susan, we got Seth, and we got Janae, and we got Leo. Yeah, we got all these folks here hanging out, dropping comments. And make sure you're sharing this stream here. Dude, you're absolutely right, because when I started in business and I got a $40,000 mentorship package to Rich Dad, which you know all about, it was a different time. We didn't have access to so much streaming and so many different, free channels of information. But at some point, a certain level of accountability has to trigger in your brain where you go, there's only so many free things I can take. At some point, I need to buy my way into the room so that other people can truly take me serious. Because if you're not willing to spend $1 on your education, on yourself, why would I loan you $100,000 to buy a piece of real estate?
Right.
Talk
Absolutely.
about that piece as we kind of move forward here. What does it mean to be in a mastermind, dude?
So there's something to be said. We're all swimming in the same direction, right? We're rowing the boat, and I think that's part of being a mastermind or being in the group, is that this community that we're supporting each other. And tribalism, it goes up, forever, thousands and thousands of years, but tribalism still. And in being a part of the group, you're holding each other accountable. I mean, I've seen guys that signed up for my program and left, which I don't get upset about at all. And I could see them posting on Instagram of their own accountability calls amongst each other. And I think that's fantastic. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Like, they've found their tribe within our bigger tribe, and now they're running their own smaller tribe. And I think that's fantastic. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I think people want to, people want to be with other people that are like themselves. If you invest in yourself, you're gonna be hanging out with other people that are investing in themselves, right? I mean, you're in Mark Evans, Jalen's in it. A lot of big players are in it. I was fortunate enough to speak at Chris Root's event in last year's Skillathon, and I've made some amazing friendships from being in that group. So a mastermind is one of the tribes you can join. There are other tribes you can join, but I think surrounding yourself with people that are going in the same direction, have the same goals, same purpose, same values as you, it can only make you better. And if you start drifting, one or two things are going to happen. They're going to remind you that you're drifting, or they're going to push you away so that you know you screwed up. Either way, being around them is going to make you better.
Yeah, and if you're completely like, I have no money, I'm broke, COVID took all my money, I've got the Rona, I've got all this stuff. It's free to listen to the podcast, folks. So
Right.
the question is, what are you filling your mind with every day? Are you filling with productive things that can help you grow, or are we filling it with the same scarcity, nonsense that is out there in the media? You watching, what's that show called? Tiger Man Boy, something, Tigerland, whatever it's called, Crouching Tiger, something. That's a different show. If you're watching this show, Tiger King, if you're watching this show all day, listen, folks, it's not helping you. I know you're home. I know it's kind of a mini vacation. It is not helping you. You need to spend time filling your mind with the right productive things. And like, my man Sean Whalen wrote the book, How to Make Shit Happen. It's 4 core things: mind, body, spirit, relationships. Every day, focus on those 4 things as bookends before you go to bed. And it's absolutely powerful what can happen to you. So pull up the chart, Hans. You mentioned Zillow earlier. I'll pull up the chart here real quick for you folks who love the charts as we hit the chart. Look at Zillow dropping here. Mortgage apps, applications plunged 24% year over year this week. So some people are afraid out there, man, and some people are
for sure
not,
they're afraid.
right? But I think.
Can I add something about that? About
Yeah.
people being afraid? There was this video done by Jocko Willnick, right? The guy who wrote Extreme Ownership.
Yeah, Navy SEAL. Love it.
And he has this YouTube thing called Good. And basically, no matter what bad things happen to you, the answer should always be good. Now I can do this. Good. Now I can finally take care of this. So you got laid off. Good. Now you can go chase your dreams. Or your business took a hit because of the coronavirus. Good. Now you know what you're doing wrong. How you're running is wrong, and now you can fix it. What's been great about the virus, and I know it's a terrible thing, but what's been great about it is we found all the things that have been broken about America, by our economic system, about people's businesses, about their realities, about safety in the job. All these things that were broken, we finally got to find out about them. Now we can fix them.
So it's a pivotal moment where we can step up and fix because sometimes we get so complacent and we're just, deserving and whatever, all these different things that us immigrants, we don't have. Like the entitlement thing is a tough pill for me to swallow. But I think to kind of wrap it up, the real point here, folks, is it's time to do something. And I say this every day, but it's totally up to you. It's 100% your decision every day if you wake up glass half full or glass half empty. And you got to make that conscious choice. And whatever you decide is what you're going to get out of life. 100%. Look at that. Your daughter's like, glass half full. She's definitely not glass half empty back there.
Yeah, she is.
So I love it. Hey, as we wrap up, Steve, any last words of advice for folks who are at home and they love to follow you, stay connected with you? Anything you can share with these guys and gals?
I think just recognize that the opportunity is available and it's abundant. It's everywhere. There's so much opportunity, right? And there's some chaos happening right now, and you can step up and fill in a void of whatever needs to be filled, or you can, be with everybody else and kind of sync with the shit. I think that there's just, I know you're in Canada, I'm from America, or I'm in America, and I've always said, we live in the greatest planet, and it's never been a better time to be alive. Now, last month was a better time to be alive than it is this month. Can't argue with that. But there's still so many opportunities. There's not too many restrictions set upon you. And you get to dictate your future, your destiny as an entrepreneur. So like you said earlier, you get to choose the life you want to live.
I love it. And as we wrap up, tell us about your goal to create 100 millionaires. I love this concept, man. I just thought it was so refreshing that you would take ownership over something so huge, right? That's a lot of millionaires. So what is that? It's $100 million of value in the world.
It's gonna be more than that.
From? Is that more than that? Where does that come from?
So Think and Grow Rich was one of the first books I read when I first got into business, which is a really tough read, but it's one of the best books ever. And someone asked Andrew Carnegie, hey, you've got 18 millionaires. that work for you. How the heck did you accomplish that? And Carnegie's response to that was, you're asking me the wrong question. Were they millionaires before they started working? And so for me, when I started the brokerage back in 2013, I said, I want to be just like Carnegie. I want to create 18 millionaires. But when I started the podcast, I recognized I've got a bigger opportunity. I got a bigger platform. And if I do this right, I can create 100 millionaires. Wow. So that's why I said from day one, episode 1, our goal is to create 100 millionaires. And I already know we're going to do that. So the question, if we're going to do 100, we're going to create.
That's awesome. Are you gonna get a big plaque when you get there? Are you gonna buy a Rari or something? Like, we did this.
I might get a red Ferrari.
A red Ferrari?
I might get a red Ferrari.
I'd love
red Ferrari with disruptors on the plate.
I'd love it. What model you're getting, my man?
Man, I'm partial to the old school Spiders. Okay. The one with the glass covered engines.
Love it. I love it. Well, next time we're hanging out, dude, I'll bring the Lambo and we'll set it up here. But dude, I just appreciate having you on the show so much. Bring the Lambo and the Ferrari. We'll make it happen. I appreciate you sharing on the agent, the agent piece versus wholesaler piece. And I'm just so thankful for you and your whole mission. So folks, if you're at home, make sure you're following my man. Watch the podcast. Get connected with him on the mentorship side. You're very genuine.
Hey, it's Ben Humble. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what my guest is talking about and you're getting massive value from it, then scroll to the bottom, open up the description, and follow them on social media. Support them, connect with them. Just scroll down there, click the link, and let's roll. Stay humble.
Make sure to subscribe to Ben on YouTube so you can stay up to date on everything Humble, featuring daily episodes of the Humble Podcast and weekly video content providing motivation, real estate strategies, and personal development for everyday life. Also, follow Ben on Facebook and Instagram for daily interactions. Check out humble.ceo and download a chapter of Ben's new book, From Communism to Capitalism, absolutely free.